transitional period, not only as far as the laws are concerned, but in every respect. In the next generation, things will settle down, and then it will be a good moment to talk about what had the tribunal achieved, what are the factual and legal conclusions, what evidence is available. I believe I am here to see the tribunal out, but me and my team are preparing ourselves to continue talking about the tribunal after the tribunal will have been closed, because we have the fabulous material that will be used that we've collected through the 15 years of work.
Well, yes.
My name is Tea Gorjans-Prelević. I am the Director for Action for Human Rights from Montenegro. Mr. Clarin, I would not give up on my generation, not yet. I would like to recall one fact. 400 organizations from the countries of the former Yugoslavia are supportive of the initiative for the setting up of a joint regional commission for the establishment of facts concerning the grave crimes and violations of international law. They will be analyzing, of course, the case law of the ICTY, but they will go a step further in the direction discussed here by Bogdan and by others. They will do their best to collect facts concerning the activities of the media, religious communities, judiciary, etc. These are 400 organizations gathering a significant number of people, and I don't think this matter was discussed sufficiently today. I do appreciate the idea raised by my learned colleague, Mr. Cicek, that this need to be done at the regional level, but some of your colleagues in Croatia do not share your opinion. There are many organizations, especially the organizations of veterans, who do think that we need to do the work jointly. So please give us a chance.
Well, we I think have another maybe 8 minutes, 5 minutes, I guess, and we're already late in. I have spoken to, a friend of mine is here who I've spoken to a lot about the victims' perceptions, Dr. Sarah Sharat. And what she's told me as she has interviewed victims in the region is that the disappointment with the tribunal is really that we think at the tribunal that the case is over when the case is over, you know, when we write our judgment. But yet when the victims go home, the case is not over. Their life goes on. So what I'm trying to find out is from you is, will your life go on the same way it has in the past, generation after generation? Have I wasted 6 years with the tribunal? I hate to make it so personal. Is that the case? I don't think so. No one's telling me that. Good. If anyone's telling me that, raise your hand. Well, she's telling me I don't pronounce her name right, but that's okay. Go on, Sarah. Go on.
Basically what I wanted to say is I wanted to see my...
We can't hear the speaker.
To agree with you that a lot of people who are sitting here ought to be there, and that doesn't mean to disqualify the expertise. But there's somebody here who I don't necessarily agree all the time, but I would like her to talk. If you could leave. She's been raising her hand. And Bakira. She has an association, the founder of
If she's going to make a question, if she's going to have a question or a short comment.
Well, because I think it's important to talk about what victims have to say. And she formed, which I think is part of the importance of the court, that established an association of women who were raped in the former Yugoslavia. And I think it's also important to talk about what she thinks, because that's my research interest, as to what the legacy of the tribunal is in terms of sexual crimes committed against women, if that's okay.
Yes, where are you?
Thank you, Sarah. I've taken the floor twice already, and I will be brief.
Contribution has to be positive. That is, we're going together, not like this. Okay.
Unfortunately, madam, you cannot have an influence on how I feel and the truth that I feel, and so you will have to hear me out.
Oh, I deserve that. Thank you.
I don't think it's funny what I'm going to say. Rather, it's very sad. Let me tell you, had it not been for the tribunal, or rather, there isn't a tribunal in the world, including the ICTY, that can mete out justice for women who had been victims of sexual crime and who had been witnesses, regardless of whether they were victim witnesses or only witnesses. You cannot dispose of these records without our consent. Let me tell you this. Secondly, if the UN has resources to spare, since apparently the ICTY is being closed down because of the expenses, and this is to the detriment of all the victims and witnesses of Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm not speaking on behalf of only women of one ethnic group. My association gathers women of all ethnicities. These very resources that you have to spare, you should hand them over to the court of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the prosecutor's office to use these resources to have the perpetrators of crimes arrested and tried. I know what the ICTY stands for. I know what war criminals are. I have experienced them firsthand, and I have appeared as a witness before the ICTY, and I know the extent to which we have so far cooperated with the ICTY and our contribution to having war criminals arrested. I would be the most happy person in the world if the ICTY never closed its doors. I would be the first one to set aside an amount of money to go toward the work of courts, and I also mean national courts, courts in the former Yugoslavia, though some are still unoperational. Please help us to reinforce the courts of Bosnia and Herzegovina, to have our prosecutors and judges who fled the country, and to also have those foreign judges and foreign prosecutors who left our country, to have them return, because we want to establish the cause of this war of genocide, call it what you will, and this will be the way to satisfy the justice, so that when I go back to my home country or hometown, that I don't come across a former war criminal, now a security guard. I want to be allowed to place a memorial plaque on the site that has been the scene of bloodshed, because we are witnesses of the fact that our memorial plaques are now being ripped off and thrown into the Drina. And those same policemen are still guarding the hills as if it were 1992 all over again. I'm appealing to Natasha and everyone else. Please go on working on the projects that you have, but give over the money that you have to the prosecutor's office and the court in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and please make sure that Mladic is arrested, because that will bring us toward our victory.
Kelly Askin, as I said, was unable to be here. If she had been here, she would have talked about the legal legacy of the tribunal as it relates to cases involving sexual violence. We've got to close. We've been given a little more time. I'd like to wrap it up. I don't want to just say goodbye. I want to wrap it up in a positive goodbye. Anybody with suggestions? Okay, let me wrap it up then. I think what we have established from the panel as well as the audience is that the ICTY's legacy and records can be used for historical reflection and peace building. I think the caveat is that we need to understand that the attitude of victim groups and civil society organizations vary within the former Yugoslavia. It's not a monolithic view. You look to Serbia, you look to Bosnia-Herzegovina, Croatia, you may get a different answer regarding the relevance, but a contribution has been made. The media, I don't know where we are on that exactly. The media certainly had a role in, or responsibility, shall I say, in the fanning of flames in the start of the war. I don't know what role they can play in peace building, and that's a better word maybe than reconciliation, but they ought to play a role, because if they were so strong that they could help to get the conflict started, it seems to me that if there's going to be a coming together, they need to be on board. Is anything else one panel, anyone want to say anything in 1 minute? No? Audience, in 1 minute. Here's a woman who I've not heard from, right here. Sir, I'm not going to recognize you. You've spoken already. You can do what you want. No.
I'm not going to take a minute. Just I wanted to share with you as an attempt to answer your question about what can the legacy of the tribunal contribute to reconciliation. Among the people I met during the study I conducted, I heard from many of the countries I visited that there was one thing that our cases and our judgments and records was containing, which could have the potential of bringing us in the way of a reconciliation. And that's really the suffering of victims, wherever they come from. When you look at the cases, what strikes you really, even if we as judges usually look at it more from the perspective of a clinical legal approach, is how much a Serb or a Croat or a Muslim Bosniak suffering from crimes of the kind we are talking about is resembling another one. And our cases are replete of that evidence. We have findings from the court. I heard from many interlocutors that if we were to start to show that, and that's maybe what is most difficult to listen from the other side when you look at those crimes, it's difficult to accept that the courts have found the right decision, have made the right decision as to responsibility, as to sentence, but if you look at those facts from the cases, maybe it's a good start. And if only the legacy could bring that up, I think that would be a good achievement.
That's a wonderful way to end, I think, this panel discussion. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, my distinguished panelists. I hope to see you again.